Hey there, welcome back to Owl Dragon Adventures. I'm Scott Kegler.
And I'm Rob McPherson.
And this is a video where we'll be talking about our favorite mechanics and our least favorite mechanics in board games that we play. So this is a more casual theme video we wanted to do. This comes up in conversations and what leads us to games that we maybe rave about and not so rave
so much like our top 10 list, this will kind of give you a peek behind the curtain in terms of the styles of games we like and that we don't like, so we can see if we match up with you or if you can just hate watch some of our videos.
Right, and why we maybe like get excited about a Kickstarter and it might just be mechanic driven, which happens a lot. And we're going to do probably a follow-up video to this as well on theme.
Yep.
Just to talk about like themes that might grab us as well, but like if there's certain mechanics I hear about that might excite me or turn me off right away.
Sure.
This is kind of some insight into that.
Yeah, so we're not going to do these in any real specific order. We're just going to kind of go back and forth. We'll just go through our likes and then our hates.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also call out some game examples in these.
Maybe we'll do like, hate, like, hate.
Yeah, it sounds good. a lot of emotion.
We're just going to confuse you.
Yeah. But we'll also throw up some images of games too, if we can, of the ones we reference of certain mechanics if you're not familiar with any of them. Why
don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is pretty basic one, but I generally like it, and I think it's usually easy to follow. I really like worker placement games. I think it's just a mechanic that is tried and true, and I enjoy it. So it's just one of those ones I can get into, and usually it helps me kind of like find the foundation of the game from like, oh, this is how the worker placement works, which is why I gravitate towards it. A game that I love for worker placement, and I think it's one of my favorite games, but Targi by Cosmos.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic worker placement game. So that would be my one, not my number one. This is no particular order, but that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I'm actually just going to tag right onto that. Worker placement's also one of my favorite mechanics. A lot of fun. I didn't used to like it as much as I do now. Really fallen in love with it lately. Great example for me is going to be Last Will by Check Games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an E there too.
Check
I
edition.
apologize.
Mm-hmm. Check edition games.
Okay.
Check game or God, why can't I?
It'll be here.
CGE. Check games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite games, it's a great worker placement game with a really fun kind of flipped on the head mechanic of it. It's just so hysterical. Really, really like that one. So
there's a lot of agency in worker placement, so I love that. We'll talk about agency with the things I don't like so much. So another one of my favorites that is a go-to, and this is probably people why they have fun and not so much fun playing with me, and this is my dog Chester visiting.
He's apparently going to be in many of our videos now.
Yeah,
he wants to be a YouTube star.
Yeah, hey buddy. One that I love that and people probably don't love so much with me is I love negotiation games. And negotiation as a element of games. So you get into like a 4X game. I love when I can like take resources and buy property off of people, or stop actions from happening, or encourage actions from happening. A great example is Moonrakers. I love the negotiation in there. It just really makes that game. It's a good deck builder, but what makes that game fun is the negotiations and how that affects all the victory conditions in the game.
Sure. Another one of my ones that I love is going to be bag/deck building. So they're really the same mechanic. And in fact, a lot of companies even claim that they're the same mechanic.
Yeah.
Personally, I like bag building a little bit more than deck building, and it's 100% sensory. It's the tactile feel of the bag and the chips in there. Has nothing to do with the mechanic, because the mechanic is exactly the same. Great example of that is going to be Wonderland's War for me. It really does a great job of the bag building, and it feels like you've actually accomplished something with that bag. You get to actually go through a lot of your bag each round.
Yeah, I love it as well. Not one of my tops, but I mean, we were trying to limit this list. But yeah, I love. I'm actually. I think I might be slightly kind of dead heat there if I like deck or bag more. But I just enjoy it.
Yep.
Another one of my favorites, and this is can be called two different things. Sometimes you hear variable player powers, which is a version of asymmetrical. We generally both like asymmetry in games, but I specifically love variable player powers. An example being is like Too Many Bones.
Sure.
I love a game where I can have a unique role in the tactics, because I love to discuss tactics on the board, and I love everyone to have a purpose, and it makes particularly co-op games
and you
so
love
engaging.
not being able to help new players because they're like, yeah, no, that's a completely different character than I have, so you're on your own.
But I love people to feel like they have a purpose in a co-op game, and not
Agreed.
just like
no overlap or little overlap.
And why I like Too Many Bones is I don't always know. I can't really tell people what to do. Like I'm like, cool, you figure that character out, you bring that to the table. It's fun, and it's not me playing like. If everything's easier for me to do, I'll just play a solo game. So I like variable player powers for that reason.
Yep. So another one of my mechanics that I absolutely love, and I think this is probably because of tactile feel also, is going to be tile placement. I just like drawing tiles and placing them down and kind of building the map. Great example of that for me is going to be Night Cage, one of my all-time favorite games. I love that. Everything about that. I believe we have a review on that one. Take a look at that. Really solid game. And I like not necessarily knowing what's going to come up next when you're exploring through a map or trying to figure things out. So again, kind of building that map as you go is just it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I gotta get you to play Bag of Dungeon because I think you'd like that.
Yes, it's definitely been on my list for a while.
And my last one for likes is I did kind of save it intentionally. It is my all-time favorite, and there's not enough games that do this mechanic. Is hidden movement. I think I've talked about it before.
Yeah,
I absolutely love hidden movement.
Sure.
Because again, I like being sneaky. I love watching people foam at the mouth when they're arguing amongst themselves, particularly 1v many hidden movement, where it's like Fear of Dracula. Absolutely love Fear of Dracula. Playing Dracula and watching these players freak out where you are. We recently just played last Friday too, which was fun. And again, that hidden movement. I love players not knowing where you are, where you're lurking. Just love that mechanic.
So my last one, I actually kind of did the same thing as Scott. I saved this one for last. This is one that Scott's cooled on lately, but I still haven't. It's going to be Legacy and Legacy-like games. Mm-hmm. Now, I will specify that I have cooled on Legacy games that end with a destroyed game, and that's for two reasons. One, I've spent money on it, and I want to keep playing it. And to the environmental impact. I mean, our industry, our hobby, let's not lie to ourselves, it's creating a big impact on the world. Mm-hmm. So willy-nilly just having a game that I'm going to throw away, probably not the best thing.
Yeah.
But the Legacy-like games are the ones that are resettable, so you can play them right from the scratch again. They're the exact same type of game, and you just take different paths. Or just Legacy games that you can replay, like Charterstone, which is one of my favorite worker placement Legacy games, where when I'm done with it, I'm going to get to keep playing it as a worker placement game. It's just going to be a completely unique board from anybody else's Charterstone.
And we haven't played it, but My City's supposed to be like that, where at the end you still have a functional polyomino game, but like it's just, you've altered it after 12 games.
So I like that Legacy games have evolved to that style, where they're like, no, we still want you to play this game in the future. It's just going to be your copy of that game
versus
now.
like a decade ago where like everyone where you had like Pandemic and
Risk Legacy
dropping everybody, you're just throwing away copies of the game. And it also, I don't know how many people keep playing their version of the game, but anyways,
so those are our likes. So now we get into the fun part of the video where we're gonna piss off a lot of you out there.
That's where we lose subscribers, or maybe we'll get a couple, I don't know. Probably lose them. But number one, my first one is I don't love, is kind of contrary to my hidden movement, I don't love hidden roles in games. And there's a qualifier here because I do like them sometimes. I don't like hidden roles with player eliminations that have no like real mechanics to stop it. Like an example where they can be stopped and I do like them is coup. Like I like that, like there's ways to block it or I can challenge it, and yes, there's hidden roles and elimination. I'm okay with that there. The one I really not a big fan of, and I have many friends who love this game, is any of the Ultimate Werewolf or One Night Werewolf games. I don't like them as a game experience. I get their good party game experience. I don't have fun with them because what ends up happening is you have 4 people that just kind of can sit there and listen to everyone now laugh, and you get eliminated in the first round of Werewolf, and you're like, cool, I'm not playing a game now, I'm out. So I don't find that a fun game experience.
One on my list is going to be deck construction. So whereas I like deck building and bag building where you're doing it as part of the game, I don't like it when I have to build a deck and then go into it because I don't feel like I ever quite get the balance right, and it's very finicky and fiddly, and most often in games like that you have to spend money to really construct your deck beforehand. big prime elephant in the room example of this one, I'm very sorry, is Magic the Gathering. I liked it when I was in middle school, and then I was too poor to keep up on it, and I just, don't get me wrong, like I'll enjoy playing a hand or two of it, but my bag.
And I generally agree with you on this. Like, I like it when someone can distill that type of game, like where like a Mage Wars, where it's distilled, or even like at a very small scale, like Radlands, which I recently got into. Like, it's the distilled version of that feeling of a game, hand management kind of card skirmish game. I enjoy those aspects of it, but I agree with you. Like, I don't want to have to.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, I don't mind analysis paralysis in the game. I don't want my analysis paralysis to come when I'm getting ready to play the game. I don't want to spend 7 hours building a deck for a game I'm going to play for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the reason why we both fell out a little bit of like X-Wing too. Like, you're having to constantly buy in to keep up competitively.
And yet we go to sell it and we look at the pretty miniatures and we can't bring ourselves to do it.
All right, but it's I don't know. I agree with you. It's like that collectible card game feeling. Like, I'm not a fan either. My next that I don't like is one that is, I think that I won't lose anybody on this one, so maybe I'll save my more upsetting ones. I don't like Take That for Take That's sake. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind Take That if it's like in a hate drafting way where I'm getting something out of it, where like, so I don't mind it. But if it's just like I'm just doing Take That to slow you down. Yeah,
if it's just kicking the shin for a kick in the shin, it's just because. And I think the reason I'll agree with you strongly on that is that we all have those certain players that will abuse that, and they'll just do it, and it just feels petty.
They want to be a kingmaker.
Yeah,
I really, it's such a turnoff for me, like kingmaking in games where like if you lost, I'm like I don't want Scott to win, so I'm going to make Rob win. I just don't like that. And a good example of it that is a game that just. I first enjoyed it a bunch of times. I own it, and I still haven't got rid of it. This is years and years and years ago. But I once had a game that went on for an hour and a half, and we're like, this is horrible. Is Bang the card game.
Oh, yeah.
It just like, we got into a loop of Take That, and literally everyone else had been killed off, and it was the sheriff and the outlaw. And it was my friend and I, and we just, everyone just kind of walked away because we're like, how does this, like, I hurt you, you hurt me, but I heal up, back and forth. It was just awful. We're like, I like it otherwise, and I love Bang the Dice game, but I think they fixed a lot of it there.
Sure.
But, that's another one of mine.
So another one of mine is going to be uncapped auction games.
Okay.
So I just...
Yeah, you hate them.
Yeah, and it's funny because like if you ask me for a list, in fact, we were just coming up with this list beforehand, and it doesn't come to my mind as one that I hate. But anybody who's ever played an uncapped auction game with me knows how much I loathe them.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it probably comes from the fact that I don't have much money in real life. And so just like the abuse of money and everything, it just, I don't know. I don't like buying my way to victory a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong. I will do it if I have the resources to do it.
I think it's just the tedious nature of it too.
Yeah.
It's like you're like not a poker player either, really.
No,
like,
I'm not a
poker player. So you don't like the increasing bet necessarily.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes from it is that I'm not good at reading people. And uncapped auctions, you have to read people because you have to be able to read where their line is in order to really win. Whereas you're really good at reading people. I'm just not. And so a good example of that, and probably my least favorite game I have played, at least in the past 5 years, is going to be the Alpha.
I did not like that.
Yeah, I literally... I forfeited and walked out 2 rounds before.
It's also the aspect you don't like of, well, I'm blanking on it now, Lizard Wizard and Raccoon Tycoon. You like the game, but fortunately those games have a lot of other options on the board, which I think is the best feature of those two games. Yep. But you don't like that. Where I have like, and actually,
although Lizard Wizard has somewhat capped auction because you only go around once, don't you?
No, you can keep going around.
You keep going around?
I could be wrong. Maybe that's Raccoon Tycoon. But either way, I think I figured out why you don't mind auctions that are kind of capped or have some sort of a compensation. Like 10 or... I'm trying to remember what I was thinking of that I know you haven't played Furnace.
Not yet.
But there's other games like that. It's because capped auction type things are essentially a worker placement game where I'm choosing this thing and everyone else is getting to kind of do something else here.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't get my primary choice, so I'm going to get something else. But I think that's why you like those.
Yeah, so that's one of my least favorites.
Mm-hmm. So we got 2 more?
Yeah.
I don't. This is really vague, but I don't like games that aren't games, and that don't have agency. And examples of this are, and this is one of the ones my wife harps on me for, because like I'll be like, she thinks I can't have fun for fun's sake. Like things like classic things like war. There's no decision making. You're just doing an activity.
Yep.
And there's no agency. I can't choose to do anything. Another example would be, because I have 2 children. We've been playing board games with them, and now that we're finally out of the agency-free games like Candyland, where like you wrote a whole play
you
about
hate
this.
Candyland so much.
Well, Candyland is basically the game of fate. You shuffle the deck, you place it down, and where everyone sits, the person who's going to win the game has already been determined.
Right.
Nothing you do matters. There is no agency. It is not a game. And if you want examples, I can provide it in the comments of better kid games that are Candyland weight that have agency and teach a kid not only turn order but agency. I think are much better examples. So I just don't like games that are not games.
Yep. So my next one is going to be firefighting games. So what's funny about this one is that we both thought we liked firefighting games for a while. We started playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I bought Pandemic Legacy Season 2 when we couldn't finish 1 because of an actual pandemic. And so we really were dead set on. We thought we liked them. And the more we played them, and then I picked up what is probably a prime example of peak firefighting game that is beloved by so many people, and I'm going to piss off a lot of people right here. Spirit Island.
Yeah.
And I think that's what turned flipped the switch, and we were like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like games that just cascade horrible amounts of little tiny things at you that just kind of pick at you just for the sake of doing it, and where the only thing that you're doing is just scooping up a bucket of water and throwing it on that fire, and you're not really progressing. You're just slowing your demise. It's not fun to me.
Yeah, and I have the same. My last one is firefighting as well. It's funny that you have that. And you already mentioned the game that I want to say is Pandemic.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. It was like, when that came out, again, I was like, this is fascinating, but I've really cooled on it to the point of I just don't like the mechanic. And it's funny, why you mentioned it's the same emotional experience I have when we've played dungeon crawlers that have an encounter that just doesn't know when to quit.
Yes.
Like, we both love dungeon crawlers, but sometimes, like in a game I like, but Descent occasionally will have a encounter or a quest or what have you on the board that just like won't stop spawning.
Yeah, they want to pressure you to go into a certain area, but they're not for various reasons. There's a reason you haven't gone there. So instead of anything else, they're just like, we're just gonna throw more things.
Spawn, and it's like, and it ends up being like, okay. And it just, I don't want to have that kind of relentless feeling. It sometimes I guess games are like that, like a Final Girls like that, where it can just be oppressive. But like, but at least it's not firefighting. So I agree with you. I really just don't like it. It's a big turnoff. So when games are like, oh, this is like Pandemic, I'm like, I can probably pass. And the only thing that could change my mind maybe is theme, really strong theme, which we'll talk about in another video.
So my last one that we're going to talk about today of mechanics that I hate is going to be dice rolling. But I need to qualify this. I actually don't hate dice rolling. I play Dungeons and Dragons a lot. I love dice rolling. Dice rolling hates me with a fiery passion. Prime example, last night we were playing Tiny Epic Westerns. Scott and I, both strong atheist skeptics, we're like, luck does not exist. Scientifically, luck does not exist. He dueled me. He rolled a 6. I rolled a 1. Then we flipped our cards over. He had a 5. I had a 1.
Yeah, and it's funny because speaking of a game that, again, I generally do not believe in the concept of luck, but I would say that my track record is lucky with games. And a game you mentioned earlier, The Alpha, we have a friend who studies game theory and is like, had me destroyed in this game, and the only way I could beat this game was to roll the 1 in 6 chance to win the entire game, and I bet on that in an auction game, and he's like, there's no way. And I rolled it, and he lost and who's not very happy with that because he had done the math and.
Yep.
But anyways, I agree with you. I have a love-hate relationship with dice rolling.
But that being said, like a couple of games that are prime examples of dice rolling that I absolutely adore, even though they are almost exclusively dice rolling. Too Many Bones, Rat Catcher. Mm-hmm. I love them so much. Their primary mechanic hates me so much.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And games that don't have good mitigation, I think, can really that's where games can really screw up.
I just picked up Massive Darkness 2, got it to the table, rolled my first set of dice. I had to take a picture and send it to Scott because I rolled all blanks.
But that's the fun part of dice, right? And they are really the sillier part of the hobby. But I agree with you on that. Yeah. So hopefully this was fun for you guys to find a little bit more of us in a casual way.
Let us know your favorite mechanics down below. We'd love to hear from about that.
Absolutely. And if as well as other things like this, topics you'd like us to do more generally, we'd love to hear about it. Sure. And if you're enjoying this video, we'd love for you to go ahead and hit the like button right there and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, reviews and discussions about newly released games or up-and-coming games.
Absolutely.
With that, I wish you good luck with all of your board game adventures.
And thank you for joining us on ours.